Tampa, Florida, October 8th, 1988, 7:59 p.m. A groom smiles and cuts his wedding cake. Just 12 minutes later, every single guest in the room is in handcuffs. But these aren't your ordinary wedding guests. They are cartel bosses, corrupt international bankers, and the financial architects behind Pablo Escobar's empire. For 3 years, the groom was one of them. For 3 years, he wore a wire, knowing that one slipped word, one wrong look, meant a shallow grave. Tonight, he's not going to prison. He built the trap, and they never saw it coming. Let's rewind 3 years to 1985. Meet Robert Mazur. He's 35, a U.S. Customs agent with a forgettable face. The kind of guy you pass on the street and never think about again, which makes him dangerous. For years, the DEA and FBI had been playing a losing game of whack-a-mole with the Medellín Cartel. They chased the planes, they chased the drugs, they chased the dealers. Escobar didn't care. He could replace a pilot in an hour, but Mazur realized something everyone else missed. Escobar couldn't replace his banking system. The cartel was making billions, but billions in cash are heavy, obvious, and useless unless you can clean it. Find the bankers. Destroy the bankers. The empire crumbles. So Mazur's bosses slide a photo across his desk. They don't want him to go in as a street thug or a drug buyer. They want him to become the one thing the cartel desperately needs: a corrupt, high-rolling banker. Creating the illusion takes 6 months. Robert Mazur officially dies and Bob Musella is born. He gets a front company, offshore accounts, and a paper trail of legitimate investments. But the cartel doesn't just run background checks, they check your soul. Mazur has to learn how billionaires walk, talk, and hold a wine glass. Because if a cartel accountant notices your Rolex is fake, you don't get a bad Yelp review. You disappear. March 1986. The first real test. A restaurant in Miami. Mazur sits across from Gonzalo Mora, a middleman who moves cash for Colombian traffickers. Mora scans Mazur's suit, his watch, his posture, looking for the cop, looking for the lie. Mora leans back. You don't look like a criminal. This is the make-or-break moment. Mazur doesn't blink. He calmly replies, "That's the point. Criminals get caught. Businessmen get rich." Mora smiles. The legend holds. Within weeks, Mazur is laundering his first million. The cash arrives in literal suitcases, and he washes it through shell companies, recording every single transaction on a wire secretly sewn into the lining of his suit jacket. But Mora is just a stepping stone. The cartel loves Mazur's work, and they bump him up to the big leagues. Enter Roberto Alcaino. Alcaino isn't a street thug. He is one of Pablo Escobar's most trusted financial operators. He's charming, speaks multiple languages, and looks like a CEO. In their first meeting in LA, guarded by armed men, Alcaino looks Mazur dead in the eye and says, "You understand the consequences if we're disappointed." Mazur holds his gaze. "I understand that trust is earned." Over the next 2 years, Mazur lives a brutal double life. By day, he's an undercover agent filing reports. By night, he's a trusted member of the cartel's inner circle. He goes to their birthday parties, he holds their kids. Alcaino eventually puts his arm around Mazur and tells him, "You're family now, Bob." And that's the most terrifying part. To survive, Mazur has to make them genuinely like him. But the margin for error is razor thin. If you're enjoying this insane, true story so far, take a half second to drop a like on the video and hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel out a ton, and you won't miss the next breakdown. All right, back to the operation. The Bank of Credit and Commerce International. This was the 7th largest bank in the world. Cambridge-educated bankers in $5,000 suits who quietly cleaned money for terrorists, dictators, and the Medellín Cartel. Mazur meets with Amjad Awan, a senior BCCI officer. Over champagne at the Paris Ritz, Awan brags on hidden tape that the bank is untouchable. They are too big, too connected. Mazur realizes he has enough evidence to take them down. But there's a problem. His targets are scattered across 3 continents. If he arrests one, the rest will scatter like roaches. He needs all of them in one room. So, Mazur comes up with an absolutely insane idea. I'm getting married. Everyone goes to weddings. Criminals, bankers, cartel bosses. It's the perfect excuse to fly international targets into U.S. jurisdiction without raising suspicion. The U.S. Customs Service assigns an agent named Kathy to play his fiancée. They stage a 6-month fake engagement. They send out 53 invitations to the most dangerous people on the planet. The trap is set for October 8th, 1988, in Tampa, Florida. But traps can leak. If one single cartel contact checks the wrong database, or if one hotel employee talks to the wrong person, Mazur is inviting 50 hitmen to a room where he will be the guest of honor. The night arrives. The ballroom is stunning. Champagne is flowing. Roberto Alcaino is there with a silver-wrapped gift. The BCCI bankers are mingling. Nobody notices that the waiters are moving a bit too stiffly, or that the kitchen staff are blocking the exits. 40 federal agents are disguised as hotel staff. Just before 8 p.m., the trap springs. The doors burst open, weapons drawn. Federal agents, nobody move! The string quartet freezes mid-note. Champagne glasses shatter on the floor. In the chaos, Roberto Alcaino looks across the room at the groom. A lifetime of trust, collapsing in a single second. 3 years of dinners, favors, and friendship. All of it a lie. All of it recorded. Operation Sea Chase was a massive success. The wedding sting triggered simultaneous raids globally. In London, BCCI executives were dragged from their beds. In Panama, accounts were frozen. Dozens of the highest-ranking financial criminals went to federal prison. Roberto Alcaino got 14 years. The untouchable BCCI bankers were locked up. And just a few years later, the sheer weight of this investigation caused BCCI, a $20 billion global banking empire, to completely collapse. They thought they were smarter than the system. They thought their money made them invisible. But they forgot the golden rule of the underworld. You never really know who's sitting across the table.